knowledge, just plain knowledge of whatever there is out there, we haven't progressed.
So the idea of modernism in terms of interpreting that word through Catholic belief, for instance, would be that we're still perfecting the faith, in a sense that man is perfecting the faith.
Yes, we examine it and we add to it and we interpret it and so, and we are getting brighter as we go. Whereas the opposite is obvious. The education today is wretched compared with what it was when I was a boy, and it wasn't that good compared with when my grandfather was a boy.
Right, in terms of the actual development of the intellect, as opposed to rote learning or even technical understanding of certain things.
Right.
Well, now the Catholic Church, I'm going to quote one of your quotes from your book, I think from the preface. Subversions have provided the climate and constructed the seedbed for the luxuriant growth of modernism, which you say is the synthesis of all heresy.
Yes.
Now, that synthesis being the idea that man perfects the faith instead of the faith perfecting the man, I understand. What specific points of modernism do you think have had the most destructive effect on the church and the faith?
Well, the idea that they can change these things, and that with the change is improvement. Whereas when you go to a religion, especially the Catholic religion, you have to say that it came right from the hand of Christ and is perfect, and that he knew all the days to come, and he didn't make allowances for any changes. He said when he left, "Go teach all nations everything that I've taught you."
Mr. Gibson, Bill, we're coming up on our first break of this hour, so we're going to put the brakes on the thing right there, and we are going to continue on with Hutton Gibson, and we encourage everyone to take a look at his website. Very well written, very scholarly. You can come into possession of his autographed books there, HuttonGibson.com, and he'll be our guest when we come back right after this.
Right after these messages.
Don't let me be misunderstood, baby. Don't let me be misunderstood. Misunderstand me, baby. Don't let me be misunderstood. Don't misunderstand me, baby. Don't let me be misunderstood.
Jump in the Political Cesspool with James and the gang. Call us tonight at 1-866-986-6397. And here's the host of the Political Cesspool, James Edwards.
Continuing on with tonight's second of 3 hours in the live broadcast edition of the Political Cesspool, Saturday, January 9th. I'm James Edwards, Bill Rowland co-hosting with me this evening as we continue on with our interview of Hutton Gibson. Check out his work at www.huttongibson.com. Mr. Gibson and Bill were involved in the previous segment of a discussion of the Catholic faith and some of the liberal policies that have come to afflict the Catholic Church, and we are going to later bring into play some more contemporary political issues and get Mr. Gibson's thoughts and prescriptions on what exactly our people can do to take back the Church and take back all of our institutions, including perhaps even our government. But Bill Rowland, until then, back over to you.
Mr. Gibson, I think there's one pope who particularly embodies all of the modernist visions or all of the modernist heresies within the Catholic Church, and certainly that would be the media superstar John Paul II. And clearly I think we see that any Christian could see that John Paul II engaged in heresies such as paying homage at the Wailing Wall in Jerusalem and also kissing the Quran. What is you're looking from a devout, traditional Catholic position at John Paul II. What do you see?
He was a complete plant. He was a Russian agent or a communist agent from the beginning. He's the only bishop that could get out of Poland without any trouble during the communist control. And he certainly pushed it.
Was there any connection? Did he have any connection, Cardinal Wojtyła, to the Masons or any particular groups? Obviously, he must have been working somewhat with the communists, and as you say, in order to have such free passage between East and West.
Yes, and he insisted at the Vatican, too, that communism be not discussed because, he said, he had to deal with them, which is nonsense. You deal from strength.
Well, I can remember that somehow he managed to pose himself as something of a hero of the Solidarity movement and of the subversion or of the overthrow of communism in Poland. So actually the opposite was true. He was actually working with them the whole time.
This is one thing about our last five. They have several facets to their character and their actions, and they don't seem to, the left hand doesn't seem to know what the right hand is doing, and the feet don't seem to know what either hand is doing.
Hutton, what would be your critique of the current Pope? Now, he caught some, I guess you would call it politically incorrect flap at the beginning for his involvement in World War II, but apparently he obviously has to be a team player here in order to keep his papacy, is he not? What's your critique?
And to be employed as a cardinal in the first place.
Exactly.
Get there. They all get in there, and they're all, the whole bunch at the top are, if they're not outright queer, they're supportive of it. They do nothing about the terrible things that have been going on among the clergy and the bishops.
See, and I wish we had a Catholic Church or anyone in a position of extreme power, as the Pope is, to really come down hard on these abominations, homosexuality, abortion, so on and so forth. It just doesn't seem as though we have a strong Christian voice coming out of the Vatican these days, and this is something that concerns me. And is the current Pope progressively worse than John Paul II? Are they getting progressively worse, or is he about the same in your opinion? What do you see there in terms of the progression of it all?
They're getting worse all the time. Now, this fellow was one of the periti at Vatican II, one of the people there to instruct these poor ignorant bishops how they should change the church. The first thing they did when they got in there, they had this Achille Lienart, who was a known Freemason, get up and refuse all the documents. They wanted to make their own documents up. They weren't there to look at the other stuff that was there. And so they chucked out everything, and the only thing left for them that was not part of the, what would you call the agenda, was this thing on the liturgy.